Hey, everybody, and we are good to go. All right, so tonight I feel is, for me, a bit of a redemption song because I've been really talking a lot of shit about Old Wad Werewolf and the fact that I don't like it. Very unabashed about that, very open. So we're going to talk some good things about it and perhaps Forsaken tonight. So I am joined tonight, as usual, by Nate from Utility Muffin Labs. Hello, Nate, and the 2D10 YouTube channel and podcast. Jesse, aka Mara Ravenfire from Twitch at the same name. And Jeff.
And YouTube, thank you.
And YouTube. Yes, you haven't done stuff for your YouTube channel in a while, though, right?
I'm actually going back to editing now that I've got several completed series.
Sweet. Then the forthcoming revitalization of the Amara Ravenfire YouTube channel. And then we have Jeff as well, who is CTC Thug, who has neglected all things streaming and all things YouTube for some time.
Thug CTC, but close enough.
Oh, yeah. It's yeah.
His CTC's in the back, not the front.
Yeah. It's
I'm
CTC
one of
eyes
the
for the
OGs.
other
Brandon was with that newfangled shit.
Changing this as a prefix or prefix. What's the hell's going on? All right, so speaking of Werewolf, Werewolf for me has always been tainted by a lot of org stuff, which is sad to say, but I saw it happen. And then, like in Lilatia Lake, we saw Lilatia Park back in the day, 20 some odd years ago, doing live action. We saw crazy shit come out of the Gru side of things. So Werewolf for me has always been somewhat tainted. I do have some fun memories though, like here and there, scattered throughout me playing and trying to give it a good, once for. Since you're our favorite counterclockwise first person, Nate, what parts of Werewolf, the Apocalypse, do you actually like?
What parts do I like? I like the parts that are written in the book when they're played properly. I like the politics of the game. I like the intertribal politics. I like the complexity of the Guru Nation. But I don't like all the things that you just sort of briefly and vaguely mentioned, which are the tendencies for people to not, tendencies for people to sort of take it a bit too seriously in the wrong way. But I do enjoy the vast amounts of lore. I like that the Werewolf the Apocalypse has set a precedent many years ago that it is basically when the game launched that things change within the Guru Nation. Things change within tribes. Names change. Leadership changes. It's not an immortal, static entity. Mm-hmm. So as history proceeds forward, those tribes and those that are on top, those that are on the bottom politically, that can maneuver and change, and that's what I like about Werewolf.
Okay, Jesse, you have a long storied history with the game as a whole, especially in the org.
I do.
I know you have
an ST there for 6 years,
and I know you can fall down a huge rabbit hole of what you like about the setting, and obviously on the flip side, what you don't like. Can you condense that for us? Like, what are your?
I am the kind of person that I play a game for the lore. I always have been. I've always been very much about story, and Werewolf tends to lead to a lot of very good and sometimes very, very sad stories that can create an emotional catharsis, not only for characters, but for players as well. Werewolf is a very expansive and vast system, whereas like Mage, it's very much so the fantasy and the discovery and all this other stuff. With Werewolf, there are really no limits. You can create an Umbral realm for literally everything. You want to go to a place where it's full of horrible, horrible things? We have one. You want to go to a place where it's full of light and love and joy at all times and everything's great? We've got something for that too. And that's just one of the many things I love about it. As to what I hate about it, I hate Super Friends. I've always hated Super Friends. I think Super Friends is the stupidest fucking thing to ever happen, and this system was not designed for it. It says people breaking genre, and it drives me fucking crazy.
Fair enough, and that's a hot topic I think we can definitely talk about here in a second. Jeff, let's move on to you. Now, as we've gamed together, I don't remember a lot of Guru games that you actually played in, at least not with me. So what's your take?
So I'm very similar to all of you actually. I always had that. There was that stigma around Werewolf that it's the Super Friends game, and that to me was hot garbage. So I really never played. Past I don't know, a few years, I played a couple times with pretty much the same tabletop crew that I've been going with the past few years. And then I really kind of gained a little more respect for the game when I started storytelling it and reading how the world actually is. And there's where it's different from Vampire, kind of like Nate was saying, is it's not static, it's ever evolving. So, but it's evolving in every way. It's not just here on the normal world plane. It's in the Umbra, there's changes, there's drastic things that happen here that alter there and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And all in all, it's a very desolate, almost depressing system with your minor victories and things you can do in the game as a pack to help feel good kind of about yourself. Where Vampire, you don't really do that. Vampire is always screw your neighbor or somebody's trying to screw you. Werewolf, it's about the inner pack community and just trying to do what's right, and it's really really fucking hard in the world of Werewolf.
Okay. And you know, actually, somebody mentioned in one of our talks that the horror part of Werewolf, this might have been Nate actually, I think, is that knowing that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you fight, no matter what you take down, you're losing.
Yes,
You're in
absolutely.
a losing fight here. And I think that's an interesting thing, but I also, in my opinion, in my experience having seen this in like a larger scale, like orgs, etc., people play Werewolf to be the good guys, to be the heroes, right? Because a lot of the other
Almost
stuff in World of
definitely.
Darkness is very sketchy. You know, Vampire, you're fucking yourself with your beast as much as you're fucking your neighbor. And in Mage, there's always fights, or there should be, and rivalries over nodes and access points. And in Werewolf, what I tend to see from an outside perspective, I don't consider myself a Werewolf player, even though I have played it. From an outside perspective, I see a lot of well, we're going to be good guys. We're all going to try to be friendly to each other and work together. Not so much a lot of rivalries, or not so much a lot of pack stuff going on, aside from what you'd expect to see, like just on the surface. But behind the scenes, when it comes down to it, everybody's working together. Everybody's going for one goal. You know, it's like the no I in team fucking thing, like materialized on this World of Darkness, and it's the Guru. And that kind of always bothered me because you're still a rage-filled monster. But for some reason, I saw all these Guru players playing these pristine, good people. And I never really got that. Like, has anybody experienced that? I mean, is that a thing?
Hmm.
I've experienced it in games that people in this room have ran, in fact, because I very much also I'm not into that. When I play a bone gnar and I come in and there's a bunch of shadow lords and there's a bunch of whatever, pick your other tribe. I'm playing a bone gnar. I'm playing based on the world that we've all agreed upon, and we're probably not going to be friends when I come in. And like I see what you're saying. I see tremendously in the LARP community, and I just don't think it's avoidable. I think that yeah, people go to a LARP, and I think a lot of people go to Werewolf because their experience in the big LARP game for World of Darkness, which is Vampire, is often the screw your neighbor, right? That's the biggest complaint is like, oh, Vampire is just a game of screw your neighbor, which sure, but also no. But I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people they like the idea of the World of Darkness, and they get fed up with that, like getting screwed over or whatever, the constant conflict, and they go to Werewolf because they see people are like, well, we're all rallied against the worm. We're all rallied against the one big evil. Well, there's a reason why the Karoo Nation has never been able to defeat that one big evil, and that's because they never actually can work together. Because it's not just superheroes, but
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
LARP, groups of people. There you go.
It's an overcorrection issue. They're so used to fuck your neighbor, fuck your neighbor, fuck your neighbor, don't get fucked while you're at it, that they go to Guru with the mindset of we're supposed to be buddy buddy. Or you get the people that can't get out of the vampire mindset and wind up playing fuzzy leech.
Okay.
And that is an equally troubling sort of I don't want to say development, because it's not really a development. It developed long ago. It's still there. So I've actually seen more games of Werewolf, particularly on an org level, where it's less, let's all work together and defeat the worm, and more, sure, let's tell everyone we're working together to defeat the worm, and really fuck over anyone we don't like, or anyone we don't agree with, or who doesn't agree with us if we happen to be the ones in power. You know,
Well,
the elders, the Athros.
Okay. And I'll touch on that in a second. Actually, I don't want to cut Jeff out, though.
Yeah.
If you have anything to share on this.
So, yeah, I think both are an issue. I've seen more along the lines of what Nate's seen, where it's more super friends, we all get along. And I think the important part, like Nate brought up, that they leave out is the intra-Karen politics, that somebody's always vying for alpha. Somebody's always vying for power, even though you're supposed to work together. Werewolves do kill each other. They have honorable combat methods of doing so. And this is normally for power or for somebody who is more tied to their beast, you know, whoever has more primal urge or a higher rage, or what's that? There's another background that goes for their
Pure breed.
Yeah, but people don't play into that, because I've seen games where people with pure breed of 1 or pure breed of 0 are leading a pack where a silver fang with pure breed of 5, and I'm like, out of game, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
So for that, I will say one thing in defense of OWN, especially, pure breed's a big deal.
It should be. It's supposed to be.
It always was, at least when I saw it. So my werewolf...
Unfortunately, everybody walks around with pure breed 5, so...
Right. my werewolf experience so far, I've only played 2 actual werewolves. 2. Count them 2 in Apocalypse.
Yep.
One was a Shadow Lord. Shadow Lord... What was I? Ragabash? Yeah. And
you were a Shadow Lord Hamid Ragabash.
Yep. And well, actually, I gotta say 3 because I played the BNS werewolf as well.
Oh, that is true. You did.
Rust, welcome. Thank you so much for the resub, man. I really appreciate it. You're getting close to a year. You are. Holy crap. That's awesome.
Ooh,
so
I got an emote.
My Shadow Lord Ragabash, I enjoyed, but the problem I felt playing that character was like, in my opinion, I'm viewing people outside my pack as not threats, but not necessarily allies either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't really voice that or make it a thing because we kind of had like a bigger thing to handle. I didn't want people to think like, oh my God, he's just playing vampire or whatever. It's like, no, I need you for this. So we're going to be friends. But after this, fuck you. You know, like my pack should come first. And that's the way I was kind of viewing the Shadow Lord. And also wanting to go into that camp, you know, the Bringers of Light, which was really cool. But the other werewolf I played was a BSD posing as a child of Gaia, Galliard. That was my first actual werewolf character, and I enjoyed the shit out of it because I got to be evil as shit.
I bet you did.
I did. It was amazing. And then I played
the Philodox.
Did I?
Shadow Lord Philodox? No, it was a Fianna Philodox.
Oh, that's right. I played him like twice. Because I kept on.
It was a Fianna.
It was a Galliard.
Wrong on the
it was a Fianna Galliard because I did the Irish accent, and I had an issue
that's right.
because Mia came in and just shit all over me, and then I shit all over her back. But it was what it was. Then I played a Wendigo Arun, which was a lot of fun, concept wise. But I played that in MES, which just was a disaster from the get go.
Yeah.
So for me, my experience playing Guru has been very limited. Oh, well, then I obviously had a Kinfolk. That was my longest lasting character right now in Guru. He's still around, I think, in OWN.
Yep.
But
so's his wife.
Yeah. My Get a Fenris Pure Breed 4 Kinfolk.
Yep.
He was a badass. He was fun. I punched out a fucking cup.
So fun.
Punched out a rank 1 client.
Yep.
That was hilarious. But
as a fucking normal human, effectively.
Well, Kinfolk, because I had the higher, trait max. But
yeah, but still.
But
you knocked the fucking Krinos Guru on its ass.
Yeah, funny shit. But for me, I've definitely seen where, and no matter who's in the room, no matter who's running the game, the players naturally gravitate towards that, like we're a unified front, embracing. And that's where I think I'm going to break a little bit here and say that still annoyed by the death of my Bonar or Ragabash. I haven't had enough characters to be annoyed by the deaths yet, Werewolf, to be honest. That's just me.
I'm still salty about my Glasswalker Ragabash, so don't feel bad, Russ.
But I think that there's this thing where Werewolf the Forsaken comes in and does very well. It kind of forgoes this idea of the Gru Nation as a whole, and makes it very local based. And we saw that along all the New World of Darkness titles, right? All the Chronicles of Darkness titles are now like local base is more important than like a national scale. So that's why there's no like overarching like vampire organization. There's no overarching like, you know, Council of Nine for the traditions or the mages. There's no Gru Nation for the Forsaken. It's cool because it brings in local, lets you do whatever you want to with politics, and it keeps the politics, I think, fresh. So that political stuff that, you know, Nate's like, I really like the political maneuvering with tribes and some of the other auspices and things within Gru Nation. I think Forsaken does it better because there's no threat of overarching power from on high coming down to say no in a particular city if it goes a certain way. Yeah, lodges may send some people out there to try to see what the fuck is going on to their people, but there's no massive authority situation that's beyond the local level. They form protectorates, and it's basically a bunch of packs working together, albeit because they have to, and still vying for territory over one another. There's very territorial beings. They fight over territory, they fight over resources while they try to perform their duty. I think it's really a cool thing about Forsaken. I think Werewolf loses that because every Werewolf game I've been to, when there's one cairn and people from outside that cairn from a different cairn show up, it's always like a friendly diplomatic entourage. No, it's never a, hey, we've got a level 1 over here in Podunkville, Iowa. You have a 5? That's cool. Hey, can we come to your next moot and bring like 20 or 30 of our friends? Yeah? Awesome. And nobody ever does the, we're going to take this shit over move. Because I think...
Go ahead. I don't think that that's that much a part of Werewolf, because I think at the heart of what Werewolf is, it's not about like taking territory from everybody else, because it is all part of the Guru Nation. But what it is it's the subtle political vying for power. Like one Guru cairn is not going to go and overtly try to take over another Guru cairn. There's just no real purpose to do that overtly. But to do it covertly, that's different. But I think really fundamentally what it comes down to is what your agreed upon style of game Werewolf the Apocalypse is compared to Werewolf the Forsaken. Now, full disclosure, I know absolute fuck all about Forsaken because I've read like a page of a book in the last like 3 days. That's all. that's all I know. But Werewolf the Apocalypse, that's more than me. So you're well educated there. So I'm not in any way going to take away from Werewolf the Forsaken. In fact, I'm looking forward to exploring that. But I think with Werewolf the Apocalypse, I think you need to determine up front what your perception of that game is. Like, we know that the World of Darkness is a quote unquote horror setting, right? And Vampire the Masquerade is a game of gothic horror or urban fantasy or whatever it is now. But what is Werewolf the Apocalypse? What kind of game is it? Is it meant to be a horror game? And if so, then really who cares about the politics? And if it's supposed to be, you know, kind of horrific, but with a political bent, cool. But I think the real problem is everybody has a different perception of what that game is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I agree.
And it very much does come down to that.
So for me, like that idea of the Karen thing I brought up, that's probably a holdover from Mage for me then, because in Mage society, that most certainly happens. If you're a shitty fucking, like, you know, Cabal that has an awesomely powerful node, and I'm an awesomely powerful Cabal with a shitty node, guess what's happening? I'm taking your shit over. And that's like written into the setting, like that's how that works. Mages fight over these resources all the time. And they sometimes have to contend with Guru, who will sense a node or a potential Karen and fight too.
That's because mages destroy Karens.
Yeah,
they're Karen raiders.
They're Karen raiders.
Right.
So, you know, I'll definitely, you know, eat crow on that and say maybe that's just the way I'm interpreting it from coming from a mage background, because I played a lot more mage than I have Guru, right? So for me, that conflict over resources. I don't know. I mean, you know,
you're not entirely wrong, and here's why. Even in the books of the history of the Guru Nation, there's been at full tribe wars to take over land. It's mainly the lands in America, like the Utena and the Wendigo.
Yeah, but that was like the
hard.
But that was like
Yeah.
the Wormcomers, though. That was totally different,
I-
you know?
I'm not
Wormbreakers,
disagreeing
thank
with you on that. Yeah, I'm definitely not disagreeing with you on that. I'm not trying to say this has never happened.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is like overtly, they're not
Right.
just gonna be like, well, I'm from the cairn down the road.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to come and snatch your shit, right?
Well,
Now
and-
it's done subtly. It's done with a backstab. It's done with a
Shadow
power,
Lords.
power shift.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
Shadow Lord style, for sure.
especially
Shadow Lord.
post the Second War of Rage. That's how that's supposed to be, because the Second War of Rage was not just against the Kamazot and all of those new world creatures that most Guru had never seen. Because hi, who's seeing a fucking Macaulay over in Europe?
Was
No
that the,
one.
yeah. Well, I thought the Macaulay had their shit stuffed in the first War of Rage.
Well,
No,
That's
Macaulay
what-
was mostly the second.
Okay.
So was Kamazot.
that's
lot
one of the
the
darkest parts about the Guru is
Yeah.
they can't win this war because they fucked themselves over with
Yeah.
both the War of
Well, then
Rages.
you
They
have-
killed all of their all of Gaia's assets
Well, and
to
they
make
had
it
the,
to where
the War
they
of
were the
Shame
only.
when they went to Australia, and now fucking no one can go into Australia because they fucked the fuck up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Big
it's,
time
it's
there.
the Gurus basically screwed. They've screwed Gaia over more than they can help her. Unfortunately, they
Yeah.
are killing her.
And that's what I
Fighting a
think
losing battle.
is an awesome little like counterpoint between Forsaken and Apocalypse, right? And Forsaken. So for those in the chat and those who may watch this on YouTube later on that don't know some of the Forsaken lore or mythology, and for those here in the group who don't know a lot of the Forsaken lore and mythology, I'm about to,
That's
we
all of us.
we about to have a chat.
Hey, Nate, shift more to your left.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Yep. You're almost.
cutting your pulp out over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I forgot I had a barrier.
you do. You have a black barrier right there. So
Mystical wall.
in Forsaken, there was Father Wolf, who basically what he did was he patrolled both the spirits world and the physical world, and kept spirits from overstepping their boundaries, like coming to the physical world when they shouldn't be, or mess with humans, and he basically hunted them down. Like that was his duty, that was his responsibility. His ban was that if anybody should ever rise to fulfill his duties in ways that he couldn't lift a finger to defend himself. Ridiculous fucking ban. Like, it killed him in the end. But then he met Luna, and Luna at this point is just considered flat out just a goddess. Period. End stop. Fucking goddess. And they had
Which is how it
kids.
is in the first place.
Yeah, they had
Yeah,
kids.
so that's how she was, even in Apocalypse.
Yeah, and they had kids that became the firstborn of the Forsaken, essentially. What will become the Forsaken? All the main wolves, like the Dire Wolf, Winter Wolf, Death Wolf, all the stuff you'll see referenced by the tribes in Forsaken came from this union. Now, unfortunately, the biggest two things that Father Wolf fought were the spider, the Azalu, I think it is, the spider hosts, and then the Hailu, which is I think the rat hosts. And the rat hosts, once there were areas starting to thicken and make it more difficult for the spirits to pass over into the real world, those rats would come in and they'd essentially they eat the gauntlet, or the Naziate at that point gauntlet, and make it easier for spirits to cross over. And on the alternate side, we have the spider hosts, which did kind of like the Weavers thing. They're like, we're going to calcify this and make sure that these two are separate forever. And Father Wolf's like, that's not how this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a balance, so we'd hunt them both down. Well, in the end, rumor goes with the Forsaken that Father Wolf got poisoned by Mother Spider. And he was getting more sluggish in his duties, couldn't perform them as well, was having issues. And his kids all talked among themselves, like, how do we honor Father Wolf? Like, we have to honor his duties, which means we also have to honor his ban. Can he fulfill his duties anymore? And it was this huge thing between all the firstborn, and essentially all the firstborn that were now considered Forsaken attacked Father Wolf because they thought he could no longer fulfill his duties, so that they would have to take over. So they killed him. Father Wolf couldn't defend himself against his progeny because they were able to fulfill his duties in ways that he couldn't. So he couldn't defend himself. They killed him. You had the Pure, which were the firstborn, going, "Hey, whoa, we're not attacking Dad. What the fuck are you thinking? You shouldn't do this." And then the Forsaken just murdered him. And Luna saw that her mate had been killed, and his death cry created the gauntlet, solidified it, just boom, across all of reality. And Luna's like, what the fuck? And cursed him with rage. But at the same point in time, I was like, you know what? I still love you because you're still my kid, so I'm going to give you gifts. Here's your gifts. But you still piss me off, so I'm going to make you swear an oath to fulfill your father's duties. And if you fall from that, the loons are going to come and kick your ass. But if you succeed in that, the luna's going to come and help you out. Bubel, thank you so much for the sub, man. I appreciate it so much. So essentially, the Forsaken are viewed by all the spirit world, the shadow, as being in the wrong. They killed Father Wolf. They did this horrible thing. And essentially, they caused this huge disbalance in the spirit world. Because now spirits are going, hey, Father Wolf doesn't exist anymore. We can fuck with the material world. Because there's no capable guardians. So that caused a huge issue. And the pure are still out there. The pure tribes became a thing going, you know, we're just going to kill all the Forsaken because how dare you kill Dad. And that's pretty much where Forsaken's set up. And the spirit world is such a huge difference because spirits are under no obligation to listen to werewolves. They're under no obligation to do as you bid. There's no oath with Luna or anybody else to work with you. You have to make them work with you. You bribe them, you beat them into submission, you trick them, you cajole them, you do whatever you need to do. You make offerings to get cooperation to fulfill your duties. Because your ultimate goal at the end of the day is to make sure that spirits that try to affect the real world are dealt with and put in their place. And that can be spirits that try to possess people, like urge them, or even become like literally possessing a human body, or those that are causing such chaos in the spirit realms and disbalance that it's affecting the real world. So you walk in like a balance, mechanism and try to fix it. And I think it's interesting because in Apocalypse, the spirit world, at least I've seen it played. We talked about this before we started here, Jess. We see it play a lot that theurges are owed something by spirits. That they
that's not how that's supposed to be at all.
That spirits should work with them. And I think it's a really interesting thing because you have a very different balance in the way the book is written and how it's run in terms of Apocalypse in that regard. But in Forsaken, they're like, this is hard law. Like, there is no way around this. This is literally how this works. So I think I kind of favor Forsaken.
Admittedly, I think a lot of that comes down to, and I hate to say this because I tried to enforce it once and it didn't go so well for me, but a lot of that comes down to ST laziness. Because even when you are of that auspice, right? Say I am a Ragabash and I want to go learn Open Seal, right? I have to grab a Theurge, go and find the spirit, have a conversation with the spirit, prove to the spirit somehow, some way that I deserve this knowledge, not just because I'm a Ragabash. Make an offering, cajole it, trick it, get into a riddle competition with it, depending on, what the spirit is and what it does. And that's how I learn my gift. It's taking that next step and becoming more of a joining of spirit and flesh, which is what a guru is supposed to be. That's not how it's run. That's not how most people run it. And it is very frustrating. And it's the same deal like when you're making a fetish. You have pretty much two options. Make a very lovely house for this spirit to live in and be like, oh yes, please, spirit, bless this item. Come join with it and use it as your new home. And occasionally I will borrow your power and feed you gnosis. Or you look at the spirit and go, get in the fucking rock. And you use a gift to literally throw them in.
Yeah, but the way I've seen that is, one, in org play at least, this is specific to org play, everybody who does fetishes has like crafts 5 and everything. So they're always like, of course the spirit's going to come because it's this amazing gift. Why wouldn't they stay? And then anybody who forces a spirit into a home is viewed by all theurgists like, how dare you do that? We're going to punish you now. So, I mean,
if they have the power, yes.
I mean, overall, is this like a thing? Because I can see it. Like, I can definitely see that being a thing where it's lazy. It's hard to enforce all the time and can just be like, you take a lot of shortcuts, you cut a lot of corners. And that may actually kind of be around a lot of things involving things I don't like about Werewolf and APOC anyways, is that it feels like there's a lot of corners cut and not a lot of genre adhered to.
Well, and when it comes down to a lot of... Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just saying that's a lot of like the LARPs that we played. That's kind of how that was run too, from what I saw. From what I've gathered through reading the material and from running the game, I'm more some spirits they would want to work with the guru, in my opinion. It's just they're kind of built that way to kind of help out. But the majority of spirits don't have to do shit, just like in Forsaken. You can, but that's where the offerings come in. That's where the cajoling or the manipulation comes in. But that's something that I think, like you said, is overlooked in most games, and it really shouldn't be, because it really downplays the spirits in the spirit realm and kind of gets rid of half of your game. Half of the game of Werewolf should be based around spirits and in the Umbra. And if you're just like, yeah, that fucking fire spirit's gonna go right into that sword for you, buddy. No, that's not how this shit happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes they, they have to make massive offerings, or they have to basically bind the spirit and throw it in there, and the spirit's gonna fight back. Like, it should be a difficult task to get a war spirit into a necklace. That's not something that the war spirit's gonna be like, fuck yeah, bro, let's do this. That's just not how that shit works.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how pretty you make it. If it's a war spirit, it's gonna say "fuck you."
Right.
Well, now I want to play devil's advocate for a moment, because I think that first of all, I want you all to know I agree with you 100%. However,
but fuck all of you.
right. But I want to pose an alternative perspective, because
Sure.
I think for a lot of people, they're there to strictly play the game, right? It's like when you sit down to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, you can just go from point A to point B, kill shit, get your XP, level up, and move on, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the game I would prefer to play, but I think the same can be said about all the World of Darkness games. I think that if you as a storyteller and your players agree beforehand, this is the game we want to play, we're going to play this game as it was quote unquote intended. Spirits are not just, chits that you put into an item and you go out and you battle the worm and you get your XP and you level up, right? I think that there needs to be an explicit conversation with that. It just is the same as like if you play a vampire game.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't have the wherewithal, the capacity, the understanding, the knowledge, or the desire to play the courtly politics game. They don't necessarily understand or even want to play that maneuvering. I'm the neonate. I'm trying to not get owned by an elder. I don't want to be under somebody's thumb. It's the same shit we see in Anarch games, where people are like, I'm an Anarch. I don't have to follow any rules, and you can't do anything to me. And you're like, that's not how the game is written. Like that's not what we agreed to. But the thing is, we didn't agree to it. We just thought we agreed to the same thing, but we have completely different perspectives. And I think, yeah, you should take the time and explore those worlds as they are provided. I mean, for God's sakes, there's like 70 freaking books with spirits in it. Like, why wouldn't you take the opportunity to learn how to, introduce that into your game? But is the person who came to just play the adventure, are they wrong? I don't know. For a long time, I've spent a lot of time and effort going, all these other people who disagree with me are wrong. But now I'm just like, well, yeah, great, we have a different perspective, but when I run a game, I'm going to make sure I run it this way. And I'm going to tell them before I run, this is what you're going to expect. Because I don't, as a storyteller, I don't stand for that. It's the same thing I talked about the last time I was on here 2 weeks ago about the person who was like, oh, well, you said you're using Wraith rules, so I should get A, B, and C.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah,
we're using Wraith rules, but there's no capacity for you to know that.
Right.
And so, it does take effort to separate the game from the genre, I guess you could say. When you,
the mechanics.
Right, exactly. But when you say like genre breaking, like yes and no. Like, yes, werewolves are marauding rage machines, and sometimes they work together, but also there's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And to answer a question that you kind of brought up before, is Werewolf supposed to be a game of, that anger and rage, or is it supposed to be a game of horror? I still think it falls under the horror category, and there's 3 reasons why. One, you get the horror of the fact that you're fighting a battle that you can't win, and you are clearly unabashedly fucking losing. But it's your job to continue doing so. It's a game of personal horror because you are one of Gaia's warrior. You're a giant 10-foot fucking rage machine. The problem is you can fall into Wormfoe and you can become just as bad, if not more depraved, than the things you're trying to fight. And it's built in and weaved into your soul.
Well,
And then the
we're-
third thing is the politics.
yeah,
Well,
worm
and
foe
I'm
is a position, but
worm thrall is
yeah,
what you
you
meant.
throw the
Right.
worm.
Thrall,
Yeah, I get what you mean. See, I though had to be like, I know something about werewolf guys, no, but no,
That's what I meant.
But I'm going to add on to Jeff's. Here's the bigger horror of werewolf. The BSDs are right. As much as you think playing a guy in Garou, you're the good guy and you're doing the right thing, the BSDs are actually right. Because the
Sabat
worm...
thinks they're right too. So
well, the Sabat are
No,
right.
but the BSDs are actually right.
Well, but the Sabat
Because
are actually
the
right.
destroyer-
Fuck the antediluvians, kill those bitches before they get back up.
Right. But you have...
because they really are
so
going to eat us all.
for those of you over in chat who know literally fucking nothing about werewolf, there's this story about the original triad, right? You had the worm, the wild, the weaver. The wild's job was to unabashedly create things. Just things. And the weaver's job was to give them form and give them purpose and give them a name. And then when its time had come and gone, the worm's job was to destroy it, turn it back into pure energy that the wild would then take, create new things that the weaver could do, and it was supposed to go on like this forever and ever and ever. So the worm itself, the pure, untainted, uncrazy worm, is decay. It's the natural process of decay and things going back into the cycle, because everything in werewolf is about cycles. Not just the cycle of the moon, but the cycle of life, death, rebirth, and it goes on like that forever. Well, the weaver got sick and tired of the worm destroying its toys and went, fuck you, and tied it down. And the worm went fucking nuts. And split into 3 heads, each head representing a twisted version, either of itself and what its true purpose was, or the other 2. Which is how werewolves wound up with their rage, because they are part worm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, because there are aspects of all 3. So when the worm got corrupted, so did their interweavings, basically.
Which is why if you rage out too much, you can fall into the thrall of the worm, because it makes you go crazy too, because your primordial tie to that thing that you're fighting and you're trying to stop and you're trying to destroy is going, hi bitch, I'm still here.
Yeah, I guess think about what Nate said though. A lot of my issues with what I've seen in Garou have been about me coming to that social contract about a game from a completely different outside, viewpoint. Going, I here's a book that I'm reading. Here's what it's saying should be happening, but here's what I'm seeing. They're completely like opposite, and that creates a disjunction to me. And then the worst part though is that, and this is where I say like this off thing that has been said, and especially in One World, is my genre hurts, is when we see things like
I say it a lot.
Like changing breeds working side by side with Garou and being equal in Garou and being allowed in the Karens and being like parts of packs, and it's like, at what level is it okay for us to say this is fucked and technically shouldn't be happening versus, but it's the way they want to run their game. Like ultimately it comes down to the way they want to run the game, but it's like, when can a player feel comfortable going, you know what, this isn't not what I came here to play. I should just leave.
Yeah, well, that's when you pay with your I guess you pay with your wallet. You pay with your vote, right? You vote with your feet. I don't know how to talk. Words are hard. You leave. If the game doesn't, I have the mentality. If I go to a game and there's some things where I'm like, this is a little funky, I make it a point to talk to the storyteller and go, hey, I was under the impression that A plus B equaled C, and I'm seeing, A plus B equal X. What's the deal? And if the storyteller's like, hey, this is a decision we made, we took the initiative, we're, going with the story in this direction. Okay, great. I can get behind that. But here is my real problem with Werewolf. And it's not anything written in the book. It's not how people interpret it differently. It is the type of player that it breeds. And this is something I've wanted to talk about for a while.
Okay.
And I think I've been real classy on a lot of these streams and on podcasts and stuff like that. But there's a type of player that when you go to like a convention, and I assume you probably experienced this at like an org game. I've never played Werewolf at an org game, but people that when someone pisses them off, or when it's time in the game for them to fight something, there is no longer a separation of church and state. There's no longer a distinction between in-game and out of game, where they become ultra aggressive and all they care about is like throwing a chop, and they're like doing circles outside of the chop fest, and they're waiting to throw their rock paper scissors again, and that's all they care about. They come, they don't role play a character, they basically just play themselves until it's time to fake fight something, and then they're the most aggressive people that you encounter. And to me, that's not fun. To me, that mentality is what prevents me from going out and playing in a werewolf LARP. And also, a lot of those people, when you do get them to play in a tabletop game, a lot of those people end up being cheaters, and they lie about dice rolls, and they do things that are not, I don't know, the most honorable, like out of character. That's my problem with werewolf.
Okay.
The type of people that it attracts, or I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg thing, but the type of people that I've encountered at a lot of these games has turned me off to wanting to play them.
That's fair.
That's and that can be said of any genre, to be fair.
Yeah, but to be
If
completely
we're being
honest,
devil's advocate and fair.
but it's like in Warhammer 40K, right? Like I love Warhammer 40K, but the fucking Space Wolf fans are the worst. It's got to be someone with the idea of wolves just fucking people up mentally, and they're like, we're gonna come in and we're gonna be alpha. I'm gonna be this aggressive asshole. It's like, that's sure. Like, you don't have to be a dick out of game though. Like, there's a difference, right? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that separation can be harder in my experience. I'm not trying to shit on Werewolf. I'm really not here. But it's true in my experience, a lot of those people go more to werewolf games than vampire games. However,
Well, yeah, because they try to swing that dick and vampire, and
Right.
it doesn't
I've
go
seen
so
them
hot.
go from vampire to werewolf.
right. I mean, people try it in vampire, but there's usually some elder that kicks their ass, or like older players say, fuck you, you're dead. And that's just how that rolls. It does happen in vampire for 100%. You know, I've seen people are like, I'm going to play Sabbat just because I want to fuck with people. Well, the wrong reason to play Sabbat, but sure, whatever, you do you. And then you become a huge asshole. It's like, nah, dude, you got to go, you know? You're playing the genre for, like, I don't really know if there's a right versus wrong reason. I go back and forth on that a lot. Like, is there a wrong reason, a right reason?
There can be.
But you're coming to the game for the wrong reason, is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, if you're coming to the game to be a dick, you're coming to the game for the wrong reason. If you're coming to the game to prove something out of game about yourself and about your capabilities, then you're coming to the game for the wrong reason. Come to the game because you want to play the game. And not that you want to dominate everybody around you. That's kind of being a dick. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely can see that that's a huge turnoff for the out of game aspect of it. I've seen that. I've run into it. But I think what really gets it for me is, like, I read the book, and I read that in every book that's been out there for Werewolf, for the most part, although I know I've had it happen, so it's already happened, somebody quoted some obscure text that referenced that it might not be the case, but in pretty much majority of all cases, mages aren't allowed to the Heart of a Cairn, right?
No, they're not. They
Because
should
they're
never be.
fucking Cairn Raiders, right? I see it happen all the time.
Come on, dude. Werewolves belong in Elysium for sure. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they also belong in fucking chantries because they're mated to a true mage, and they bring that mage onto the cairn because that mage is also just happens to be kinfolk and they're allowed for some reason.
Yep.
Or I mated to a demon, the fallen, in a human body.
Oh yeah.
They can
That
come
was a
on
fun
too,
one.
right? Like what's going on, man?
Yeah.
So
Well, that goes back to that whole stupid idea of fucking super friends.
It's a
And, you know,
goddamn
being
demon
buddy
in that
buddy
book.
with fucking vampires and giving them
Goddamn
fetishes.
demon
Like,
vampires.
excuse me, undead creatures literally of the worm.
yeah,
Well, I got a humanity of 7, so just relax.
In that case, of the weaver.
I've got Bardo.
Please kill.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Jeff loves Bardo.
You need to fucking die. You got Bardo? Fucking go play at a different game, all right, buddy?
So for
Don't
those
get me started.
those who don't know, Jeff loves the Children of Osiris.
Oh yeah,
Real
Who's your
hard.
storyteller and what does he do?
really
Yeah.
for them.
So I guess, you know, for me, Werewolf, I don't know. I've tried Unit Fair Shakes. It just never latched on. I think it's got to be like, definitely. I think Nate hit it there. It's like I'm coming from a very different perspective and what I'm viewing than what's going on with the staff. But my problem with that was that I really only tried playing it for the most part in org games, outside of the occasional scatter, like with Jesse, down here actually, with Jesse. But
And that went so well.
it went fine until shit didn't go fine. You know, it went fine
Well,
to a
that was-
point.
That loops back to Nate's commentary about players showing up and getting aggressive and being assholes for the sake of getting aggressive and being assholes.
You know what was funny is to bring up that game really quick, not to get into everything so much, but the pack Nate was in was doing a thing, and they're being shady fuckers about it. And
As
the
they
rest of
should
the
have
group,
been.
the rest of the group were like, "Oh my god, they did the thing. They betrayed us. We're gonna kill him." And I'm like, "I'm friends with the Bringers of Light. Let's talk to him first, right? Like, because there's probably something else going on here. Let's not immediately assume they're corrupted. Let's just see like what's your angle, you know, and how can we
The
help?"
great thing is they were following their totem.
Well, right, but then the other pack that was there, the other players like, "Oh no, fuck that. We heard some shit, and we're gonna kill them all. We're gonna take them to the mountain." Like,
And
what
let's
the
be
fuck
real.
are you doing?
Let's be real. A lot of people, especially in the homebrew games that we played in, had a very specific image of us in our group.
Could you ring a
Yeah,
bell right here?
everybody.
Like ring a bell, right? Like ding, 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 ding.
So they came in with the
Damn it, none
preconception
of my
of,
presets
okay,
are
we're
up.
going to have to kill these guys the second they start trying to steal a show,
Yeah.
fucking with our packs. We're just going to kill them. We're not going to talk. We're not going to have a tribunal. They're just dead. That's kind of how we were treated for the longest time.
Well,
Right.
and unfortunately, like these
In
were
every
two
game we
people
went
that, to
to.
my knowledge, had no idea of Nate and the others who showed up with him. So seeing them suddenly whip around and do this made my fucking head spin as the ST.
It was
like
so
I was like, what
weird.
the fuck?
It was so weird because from my perspective as a player, I'm going, that could go either way. Honestly, it's a 50-50 shot. Either they decide, fuck, let's throw a lot in with fucking, you know, McTavish and all them, or two, they're like, we're just going to fuck them over. But then in-game, once I found out what the totem was, I'm like, we need to have a chat. We're not going to just fucking go off on one angle on this. We just need to talk to them. Like, hey, what's the angle here? How can we make sure this goes down? You know,
Well, and
without...
even when they talk to the NPCs about what should we do, you know, you're the alpha of the sept. Tell us what to do. Find out the truth.
Yeah.
Go
And-
talk to them.
And what's really fucked up about that is that we had a similar situation having that mage, too.
Yeah.
There's certain people that are more outgoing than others, and it doesn't really matter what they play.
That's true, too.
It's going to
Personality makes a big
grate
difference.
on some people.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, not to talk about someone who isn't here, but like especially when you have a historical precedent of running games for long periods of time. I think you almost get like the challenge of like I'm going to challenge this person because
Right.
you know it's my turn. I want to play. I want to be the one that's in charge of things. And I think that's a whole different topic. I
Yeah.
think a lot of that can be avoided by simply eliminating the in and out of game conflict once game is over. I think that it is really I've discovered it's like not a big revelation, but I've discovered like when game is over, when you're playing in a LARP, talk to those people, be friendly, show them you're not the asshole that your character is. Because here's the thing. If I come to your game, I'm going to play an asshole character. That's what I want to play. I want to play an asshole character. I'm a fucking vampire or a werewolf or a mage. I'm living in this weird, crazy, dark world, but I'm not that in real life.
So now I know
let's
what to
talk
expect
afterwards.
for your Iron Master. It's going to be an ass.
No, it's tabletop. It's tabletop.
Right.
It's different. It's
Oh, okay,
tabletop.
okay.
It's totally different. Yeah. If I go to a LARP though, like, yeah, I don't own leather jackets and cool vests just because I want to like look cool. Like I need them for a costume, right? No, but like it's important in a LARP situation when you're dealing with people that you don't necessarily know to try to interact with people post game to show them like, hey, I'm not just that jerk, you know, I'm not just the follower of Set who's trying to stab you in the back. Like it's just your character and my
Right.
character. I'm sure you're really cool. I'm really cool. Let's talk. And that's all I'm saying. Like it requires you at some point to go, hey, we're all doing this together. Let's try to be friends.
Well,
Right,
and
at the
that's
same
part
time,
of
you
where
are all
Atlas
coming
came
together for
from.
the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and to wrap that around to, back to Werewolf, I don't know what it is, but I have this weird, almost like just concrete inability to make friends with anybody who plays Werewolf.
it comes back to what I was just talking about.
Right.
You've made friends with me just fine.
Right. No, but you also play vampire.
Asshole.
Right. There's a
Right, I
difference.
was gonna
Like,
say we interacted with you with vampire, not werewolf.
right.
Or
We
finished
met
with
you
it.
via vampire, not werewolf. But I mean, Russ I met through werewolf actually. So Russ in chat. I think anyways. I think I met him through werewolf first, and then we started
you met him
interacting
through
more.
Werewolf before
Yeah.
John locked
So
a thing.
the
in your brain
occasional,
anyway.
the occasional person I've met in werewolf, I've been cool with, but the vast majority that I've met that were primarily werewolf characters, there's some sort of fundamental disagreement. Like, I don't want to name names, but Gold Star Hip Hop comes to mind. You know, like I just can't get along with that individual out of game. I just don't.
No, nobody gets along with
We
him.
don't vibe at all, and I think that definitely comes back to what Nate was saying earlier. Is like people play the game for different reasons, and I think those fundamental drives are what I disagree with. Because I'm there just to have fun, play a game, try something new, explore new lore. And when it becomes
have a good time.
an out of game competition, I completely lose interest. Like it's not what it
Yeah,
should be.
you disconnect.
Well, I
Right.
think there's this theory that was held many, many moons ago, and I do think to a degree it rings true. I think that when a person comes to, and I strictly am talking about like classic World of Darkness here,
Okay.
when a person comes to the game via tabletop, I feel like when they transition to LARP, they have a very different outlook and a very different portrayal of the game than if they start at LARP. If they start at LARP, like LARP, live action role playing, can provide you all kinds of opportunities to get the worst sort of mentality about gaming. It's great fun. You meet a lot of awesome people there. Almost every human being I know I've met from LARP, but also a lot of the worst people I met at LARP. And
Truth.
if they come into it getting that kind of like bad those bad habits, I think that it they're not going to have the same mentality necessarily that someone who sat down at a tabletop game, had a storyteller walk them through scenes and walk them through the world. They just picked up a quick book and went, here's 753, let me play. So I think there's
how
something to
I
be said
joined.
about
I
that.
started with
Yeah.
LARP and
Fair
not
enough.
tabletop.
I started with LARP. Well, I started gaming tabletop, like D&D back in middle school, but I started
Yeah.
playing
I didn't do
World of
that.
Darkness, Grey Book days back in high school. My girlfriend at the time met some guys who were running a LARP out in like Mount Prospect and took me out there. I played the Gangrel for my first clan ever. I thought it was really kind of cool. But I had I guess for me, an unusual experience from what I've seen, like especially in the org, etc. My experiences were primarily when I first started playing. Before I started playing with the games I met Jeff at, it was very story based, 100% story based. Like you had to have you have this merit on your character sheet. Why? Tell me why this is important to your character, not to a mechanics. And I used to laugh when Revise came out. Like, you try being a kid and having 2 blood to spend for a night when you got fucking 5 right now. Kiss my ass. Get out of here. But it was interesting because we learned more about story, and then I got hardcore into tabletop and loved tabletop. Like, tabletop was amazing. That old school 2nd edition book that was just crisp, and all that marble covering was really cool. And I remember loving the art in that book. And then
Remind me later. I think
Revised
I
came
have
out.
something for you.
it was neat.
See,
It was neat.
I started with LARP, just like Ray. And as a matter of fact, there was after my first game, which was with Ray, Nate, and our buddy Falco.
We fucked him over
I
so
almost
bad.
didn't. I almost didn't game after that. I almost didn't come back and was just like, "Fuck gaming."
Not mean,
Yeah,
Nate.
we were mean to him.
No,
Not you. Nate,
I was
another
gonna
Nate.
say.
Yeah.
No,
Tittle Nate,
different
Tittle
Nate.
Nate.
But they literally they were fucking terrible. I was like, these guys are fucking assholes. Like, why the
used to
fuck
just-
would I go back to game?
You should
But it
just
kinda
bring
challenged
people
me.
just to like have additional bodies to throw at your enemies.
Yeah.
Right. And that it was just like after a while, I was like, nah. I felt challenged. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm gonna keep going back. I'll get better and whatnot. But yeah, I started in the LARP community. My first actual tabletop game was run by Ray, and we were playing at our buddy Jeff's house, who we called his nickname is Lone Wolf. I think you all know him.
Oh, the D&D
But,
game. Yeah.
The D&D game. That was my first ever tabletop game.
You had a lot of fun with that game.
I did. It was very fun. Storyline was great too.
I'd say I started.
There's a Dragonlance story.
Yep.
I started World of Darkness LARP too. My first one was a vampire LARP.
And you were probably terrible for a while. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
yeah, oh yeah. I played this little French toreador, and yeah, okay, sure, I lived, but I was also the most gullible piece of shit to have ever gullibled.
All right. I have to ask a question. and I mean this in only the best of ways. Why is it that it's so easy when I see a girl come to LARP? It's always a Toreador, Bruja, Lasombra. That's all I ever see. Like for the first characters.
Because those clans are cool.
Right?
I mean, admittedly, the one that I played when I was in high school and we were just kind of running it to run it, I played a Malkavian. But honestly, for me, Toreador was super easy because I was a dancer.
Fair.
So I could, like, super quick pull out a dance out of nowhere and be the artist I was supposed to be as a Toreador.
Yeah, and my wife's first character, I met her on LARP too. So weird. Met her in Elisha Park, of all fucking places. She played a Toreador photographer because that was her interest at the time while she was just finishing high school. She's like, I want to get into the game, something I'm into, and I can definitely see that aspect because it's easy to fall into making a character that you have some interest with, a shared interest, right? And I think that most guys were brought into the game in that era when I started because, like, hey, let's play a new game that's out there, let's beat some shit up. And it was like more towards the aggressive clans, and then it became later on
the Gangrel.
Right. It later on became a deal.
Summerfest.
The Assamites, then it became a deal of like, all right, find a character you relate with that you can actually make it and have fun with, and that's when I started playing more Toreador. That's why I started playing more, esoteric characters like my Tremere, things like that. And it's just weird. It's just weird. But
well, and that could be a complete discussion in and of itself.
Yeah.
Is the gender differences of where you start in a LARP.
but also a minefield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I recommend having at least one woman and one man on that panel.
Yeah.
I don't think in 18, 19 years I've been LARPing, I don't think I've ever actually played a Tremere in a LARP game.
I've played Tremere.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
Can be fun.
Yes, you did. You played the Tremere Anti-Tribute.
Does that count as a Tremere?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No, you were a double betrayer because you went.
Yeah, I was. Yes, I was. Yeah. I forgot about that game. I don't really count that. That's a name. That's not like a real Tremere.
I'd say that doesn't count as a Tremere. That's someone who was unfettered and came back for whatever.
Yeah. That was so I could fuck with other Tremere by being like, I'm a Tremere, I'm a legit Tremere, and I've drinking from the Sabat cup.
So that's I play assholes in LARP. That's where that was from.
That's where I play an asshole disclaimer comes in.
My first guru that I played was the BSD, which was weird. Playing Galliard BSD, I went crazy. Jeff and I, we played together. We played Khan.
Yeah, we played not Pumanka. Yeah, we played Tucan. That wasn't my first ever though, but we were the only two Bastet in the Guru Carrot.
Yeah.
For those of you over in chat who don't know what those are, cat shifters.
Yeah.
Cat shifters.
Lions.
Yeah,
no, not lions. We were the tigers.
Either.
Tigers. The lion were the Simba. We were the Khan. We were the tigers. But
okay,
that's
also for you, Nate.
Yeah,
I know.
And then Falco later came in with a Swara. Falco came in with a Swara.
Yeah, Swara got that bullshit gift, like step sideways. Really, you're a dick. It's so much harder for us.
Bitch ass motherfuckers.
See, nobody would let me play the one Bastet I really wanted to play because I'd probably annoy the shit out of everyone with it.
The Bubasti?
Silicon?
No, Kwalami.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna talk to you in nothing but fucking riddles, motherfucker.
So
let's have a day.
Speaking of Forsaken thing really quick, an interesting point of contention between Apocalypse and Forsaken can't so easily cross between worlds. You need to have a locus, which isn't really the same thing as a Karen. It kind of shares similarities, but a locus is kind of like an item that's been like saturated with energies, and it bleeds essence. So it kind of bleeds quintessence or gnosis into the area, and it makes the wall between worlds thinner. And when you're there, you can more easily step sideways. Otherwise, it's very difficult for Guru in that world to bypass over Guru, the world of Aratha now. But it's interesting. It's interesting, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Which
it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way in Apocalypse too. You're in the city. It's supposed to be fucking hard to cross over.
Yeah, it is. You're supposed to at least have something reflective with you at all times. Otherwise, crossing sideways is a fucking nightmare. And if you get stuck in the gauntlet, hello, there are pattern spiders. They're coming for you.
Right. And what's interesting in Forsaken,
or what's even worse, being tossed in a horizon realm that's completely not what you were going for, and you have no idea how to get the fuck out.
Oh yeah, that's why the umbral mapping thing is supposed to be like hugely important, and the only people who are supposed to have it are the Nuisha, because they basically are running around in the Umbra going, fuck everybody else.
Yeah, Forsaken and Apocalypse, I think, are, for me, two vastly different games. The only thing at all that's similar really is the spirit world being a huge part of it. The way they get renown is a thing. Having tribes and auspices.
The more I'm seeing the similarities.
Right, there's similarities, but it's drastically different on a level as it's been played and seen in, like, you know, org or troop games.
It's a different flavor. It's less, here's the big bad, here's your big enemy. And you have to try and destroy it and die in the process, because let's face it, you have two options. Die or fall. Right. That's it. There's no middle ground here.
That's not even a thing, really. There's no big bads. I mean, they're the Melgen are there in Forsaken.
Oh yeah.
But the Melgen are connected to wounds in the Shadow. The Shadow is the Umbra for those that are playing the home game. So when wounds occur in the Shadow, some of those Melgen lords can manifest powers out through those. And they're still around, but they're not nearly like the big ultimate bad guy at the end of the story for the Forsaken. The Forsaken really are more immediate, more you know, right now there's a spirit on 5th Street that's possessed a worker and is driving them insane. We have to go deal with that. We have to show the spirits around that they have to maintain the order, or we're going to maintain it for them and they're not going to like it. And that's pretty much what you do. You're like a spiritual cop in essence. But then you also have to fight for territory. Other Forsaken packs are going to war with you for territory or locusts or whatever it is that's around there. They're going to, if one pack sees that you can't maintain the spirits in your territory, they're going to take some from you. Like, you can't control us, we're going to take it. Then you have the pure tribes who are like, you guys are all fucked up and wrong, we got to take care of you on that side. And then you have your biggest threats, which are the ones that killed Father Wolf outside of his children. You have the rat hosts and the spider hosts. Those are the huge issues, you know, and all that kind of comes together in this little melting pot of shit for the Forsaken. And you have to fight every tooth and claw for, you know, spirits to do shit for you. Even their version of Theurges don't have an easy time of whatsoever. And that's why they have, like you were talking earlier about how your auspice you're taking isn't really quite a Philodox, because there's not a lot of like Guru Nation law to judge on. It's more your diplomat, your negotiator. You see to, you know, people who have violated the oath. Sure, that's a thing. If one pack suspects another pack has violated their oaths to the moon, then yeah, you can definitely bring and play like a pseudo Philodox role, but it's not really, there's no way to bring that charge up to, except maybe the alpha packs in the area for the Protectorate, if there is one. Otherwise, you handle it yourself. Like, you guys have started eating people to gain essence. You can't do that. We don't allow that, so we got to put you down. And then you go to war. You also are negotiators with the spirit courts, so that's a thing. You know, so it's a very...
This will be fun for me.
It's a very social
forward to it for sure.
Yeah,
I have to fucking talk for once playing a tabletop.
Yeah.
I also, when I ran that game, Nate and Rachel were there for one session of it. I think they were listening, and I don't know if how close they were paying attention. But I had a lot of fun running it, and I actually want to run it again because I only got, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 game sessions in on the story. And
did you run a werewolf game?
What's up?
Oh, yeah, okay. No, okay.
That's one of the last
you
games
said Russia.
I participated with that crew.
I definitely wanted to play that game. I certainly made a character for that game.
Yes,
well, shit
Things
happened.
happen. And both of us do not participate with that group anymore. So, but I do want to run that story because, like I said, I only got about 4 game sessions in, and I had a really good story plan.
Like an APOC game?
I was having fun with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be down. I'd say I was actually going to suggest I might actually, like, come out of werewolf running retirement and run something.
I'm all up
Just
for...
Russia's great for werewolf.
I'm all up
Russia's
for people...
fantastic for werewolf. Plus Baba Yaga.
Running stuff. I mean,
Let's play with Baba Yaga.
With that. So for those in chat, before we end up here, because we're going on a little over an hour now, we will be probably streaming this Saturday. Yeah, it's like an hour, 13 minutes so far.
Yeah, an hour 10.
Doesn't seem that long though.
Right. We will be likely streaming our Saturday night Werewolf the Forsaken game. It's my first time running Werewolf the Forsaken, like for realsies, and a lot of people's first time playing it all. So there's going to be some false starts. We're also playing 2nd edition, which for me is going to take some getting used to because I'm used to 1st edition rules for Chronicles of Darkness stuff. But
that's okay. We won't judge him harshly on it.
Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, just don't tell people.
Fuck. screwed
not
up
gonna know.
already.
We're not gonna know.
Too late.
But
You ruined
it should be fun. We got a large pack, like 6 people. Russ is going to be playing with us too. Which, by the way, Russ, if you're cool with, I mentioned the Discord, but nobody said anything. But if you're cool with us streaming, we'll stream. Nobody else gives a shit.
He's going to have a problem. He's also a streamer. So.
Yep. So we'll see to that. We'll put it on the schedule probably tomorrow. We're going to do our session 0 kind of offline to get everybody on the same page and get characters done and do all that cool stuff. I've got to make an overlay for it still, but it should be a fun time. It's going to be a small, like little mini campaign, like 2 or 3 sessions long, just to kind of pass some time before one of our other friends runs a D&D game. So we'll see how it goes. And if you like Forsaken, hey, if you had fun, maybe we'll later on pick it up again. Who knows? Maybe I'll make a Discord thing for it. Who knows? But guys, thank you again for coming on and talking to me about this shit. I know I have some weird hiccups with Werewolf, like I was thinking earlier with the mage thing, viewing that and the same thing Werewolf, and it's not apparently. And then obviously I think Nate hit on the head with that difference of opinion coming into a game.
I don't do magic, Morty. I do science.
No,
One takes brains, the other
I
takes dark eyeliner.
Thanks, Russ.
I like Werewolf. That's the truth of it, but it annoys the shit out of me.
Fair enough.
It's like liking Vampire and still being like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
From my
god. Yes.
experiences, I think I enjoy running Werewolf more than I enjoy playing it. But I like Werewolf.
I like both sides of the fence. But the big question, Ray, you told us to basically sell you on Werewolf. Would you try it again?
I tried tabletop again, without a doubt. Tabletop, I think, is like my baby step mode, essentially. Like, I give it a shot there and see where it goes. You know,
Well, which edition would you like to play? I have all 4.
I'd say I've got 3 of them.
I think I.
Nate, what we want to play with you is fucking BSD and Famore.
I'm
No.
in.
Freak
I'm
Legion?
in. Come on.
No. You'll get
That's
to
like
it eventually.
That's like your baby, man.
Honestly,
I would love to play that game.
I would
Nobody
have.
lets me play evil.
I would have no opinion one way or the other of what version it was, to be completely honest, because when I played in live action, it was all the revised Laws of the West. Jesus Christ, I'm going way back when. But Laws of the Wild.
Laws of the Wild.
I'd say there was a Laws of the Wild West too.
Yeah, I know.
Just for the record.
Yeah. Laws of the Wild West is the Guru one. But I've also played in the horrific BNS, like weird, like they took a shit on canon and didn't care game. That was fucked up, even
Hides
for
the
me.
servers.
Right. So for me,
I'd
like,
say it's about to be hides the servers. Careful.
I'd be up for whatever. Like, to be completely honest, like, I really don't know the difference aside from maybe some mechanical stuff that changed. Politically, I have no idea. I just know what I played, and that was like roughly during W20. Yeah, because we used a lot of stuff from W20.
Yeah, when we did the MES.
Yeah, I played BNS
Nonsense
Werewolf for us.
3.
I did.
Yeah, when they one-shotted effectively Cleath-Ratkin one-shotted a get a Fenris Elder.
With a bite.
That was with a bite. That's a thing that
That
happened.
shouldn't be a thing.
That happened
No,
midwinter. That was their beta test.
Yep, that was their alpha slice.
Yeah, and the damage there was really weird. BNS system was just really kind of, but it is what it is. But for me,
their alpha slice is supposed to be, it's made to be broken.
Addition, I wouldn't know. I know that in 2E
The book is
Forsaken.
this thick.
Is that W20?
You could kill a man with the book.
No. The BNS Werewolf book, it's this thick.
Yeah,
Not this tall. This thick. It's like 8,000 pages.
It's
Yeah,
stupid.
you could kill a man with it.
Yeah. Take it to a LARP. Put it in your pocket.
It's really easy. Just lug around, pocket
I'd
copy.
say that the second a player annoys you, just smack him with the backpack it's in.
Yeah, but Werewolf Forsaken, there's definitely some changes between first and second edition. There's some lore stuff, more minor, but there's mainly a ton of mechanic shit that changed, 100%. And I know that one of our friends, Chris, had been playing Mage the Awakening for first edition, and he loves second edition far, far more. It says like everything he wanted in like a street occult, type game, which is really kind of cool. Requiem.
Hey, Constantine.
Requiem had some weird changes. Powers, most certainly. The disciplines changed in Requiem, which were amazing. Like, Animalism now is super cool. I love it. But, let's see. Bonar would never hit my Silverfang with the right combo of merits. Silverfang shouldn't
It wasn't a
exist.
Bonar. I thought they said it was a Ratkin.
Oh, no, just in general. Like, when they first, when BNS first launched their alpha slice, a lot of it got ignored when they finally put in the rest of the book. But yeah, Russ is right. With the right combo merits, a Silverfang would never be able to hit a Bonar.
Yeah.
And it's fucking stupid.
But,
'Cause, I mean, to be fair, also a Silverfang shouldn't be hitting a Bonar. All you have to do is look and go, bend the knee, bitch.
don't you have somebody else to
use the
go
right gap.
handle your dirty work for you as a Silverfang? It's like a Ventru punching somebody. When the fuck does that happen?
It
It depends on the Silverfang.
You obviously haven't spent a lot of time in Chicago.
Yeah.
I've never
Those
been
brew
hit.
were punchy.
Never been hit by a Venture in Chicago. Wow, holy shit!
Probably a good thing. Most of them would probably kill you in a shot.
I've never been hit by a Venture in Chicago. I've been hit by Critias. Never hit by
You
a
played
Venture.
Adventure in Chicago?
I played
Well, when you play in my Chicago by Night Chronicle, maybe we'll get you punched by a Venture.
It's
Totally.
off the right Venture, Ray. I dare you.
Fucking Ballard with a cane from downtown. Wow. Just
Well, I'm
shaking
working
the
on
jaws.
something right now. It's a lot of work, but I will have a chronicle for it very soon,
Sweet.
and it's going to take place in Chicago. And I would love to have this group help to play test it.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
I'll throw a
definitely.
shot.
So before we sign off for the night, what is everybody working on? Nate, currently, what projects can people look forward to from you? Like, what's on your plate?
well, I do a podcast. We release, well, I release, I don't know why I say we, I guess me and the people that are on it. I release once a week. It's on utilitymuffinlabs.com. I have a YouTube channel. It's called 2D10. I do fully produced videos, deep dives, character creation, walkthroughs. I am poorly and ineffectively trying to make things for the Storyteller's Vault that I've been working on for a long time. Don't count on them anytime soon. I have no idea when they'll be done. And yeah, so I do videos, I do podcasts.
All right, Jess.
Just finished my charity drive for Starlight Children's Foundation. We crushed the goal.
Awesome.
On top of it, also finally finished Fatal Frame 5, thank God. Not that there's anything wrong with the game. It was a lot of fun, but we've kicked off Fallout New Vegas on the channel. I was actually talking to Nate about it earlier. We're seeing how I would deal with this situation, how long it takes me to become a homicidal maniac. The answer is not long. In case anyone's wondering, it took me like an hour and a half before I was finally like, let's just kill all of them.
It's
Just
the
kill them
easiest.
all.
It's the easiest way.
It really is, and I'm looking forward to getting after Caesar's Legion. I'm really looking forward to sinking my fingers into someone there, because that'll be fun. Going back to finally editing up some of the old VODs. So a lot of what you guys are going to see on my YouTube channel are going to be cut down VODs. Maybe little like funny things edited in here and there, whether it's like a little fucked up way I said something or somebody else. 2020 clip show is going to come out eventually, and there's a lot of clips, so feel free to clip my channel, folks. It'll make it into the clip show. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm just living here and trying to survive my cat.
Jeff.
Well, for nothing in the short term. In the long term, I have right now I'm running a Star Wars game, which is not being casted at all. But I do have other games that I'm working on, getting ready for stories that I'd like to tell. A Pathfinder game, a werewolf game, at least one vampire game, if not more, a hunter game.
What?
There are stories that I would like to start telling.
You just got them
and
flowing.
all of them have the potential to be streamed. If I do stream them, because my graphics card currently isn't quite up to par to handle all that, it will be probably through Cal's channel if Cal
I
is
can
cool
do
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are things further down the road in the pipeline that, again, this crew will be the crew to play. So
Awesome.
I don't know that I've ever played in a game you've actually ran, Jeff. This is some bullshit.
you have, but
I'd
not,
say I
most of
haven't
them
never played in a
either
Jeff
ended
Name them.
for one reason or
Name 'em.
another.
Name them, you son.
The ass of my game.
Oh yeah. Okay, you're right.
Everybody's asking.
I
Game
forgot.
on, I guess.
Everybody who came in the chat, thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the tips. It's really awesome of you. And thank you for the guests coming up. Everybody, if you haven't, definitely check these wonderful people out and get some of their stuff on your subscription lists. And
I only need 800 subscribers to be worthy of something.
everybody go subscribe now to 2D10. I I need
Do it now.
966.
See, we're close.
Yeah, we're we're
have-
right down the street. You know.
I
have,
don't
like,
care about
Hey,
that.
I mean,
I'm on my
basically-
Twitch, and I have like 13 people on my YouTube. But
I-
yeah,
I-
I would welcome subscribers.
I have 81 on my YouTube. If y'all go over there and check it out, cool. If not, that's my primary focus is over here on Twitch. So
Yeah, but you'll be doing more, which is going to be awesome. But again, in closing, thank you everybody coming out. See us this Saturday. Once we get a good time locked in, I'll put it down in the schedule. So definitely check down below. For those who are watching us later on YouTube, there will be a link to that video in the description down below as well. So everybody, take care and have a good night. All right.